Your current UX specialty, the one you've spent years perfecting, might be limiting your career growth. Now, for years, our industry has debated the concept of a UX unicorn, that non-existent professional that is said to be as elusive as Kaiser Soze, the one who...
He's gone. Underground. Nobody's ever seen him since. He becomes a myth, a spook story that criminals tell their kids at night. Rat on your pop, and Kaiser Soze will get you.
That mythical person. Essentially the person who can do it all. 7 years ago, Jacob Nelson talked about this mythical professional. Now, Sarah Gibbons, the Senior Vice President at NNG, she said that many as a result really concluded that specialization was something that was slightly more practical. That is, a designer should specialize in a few skills instead of one person being perfect at all of them. But she also notes, and I agree, that as AI reshapes the design industry, we're seeing an interesting shift. That is, the return of the generalist. Traditionally, UX has been highly specialized. Now, we've built teams of dedicated experts. I know personally that I have built teams of different types of experts, all with vertical specialties. Now, this is what we call UX specialists. For example, UX researchers. These are masters of quant and qual methods, that is, qualitative and quantitative methods. Information architects. Designers of structure and organization of information, such as website or app navigation. Interaction designers, focused on user flows and wireframes. Content strategists, crafting voice and tone. Visual designers, perfecting the pixels and aesthetics, pixel pushing as the term may go. And UX writers, who plan and produce microcopy in digital products, whether that be websites or display devices in store or apps in itself. Now, this I-shaped model that we talk about made a lot of sense. This is where we see a graphic designer that basically meant that everybody had expertise. What we talked about, building teams. Now, this I-shaped model made sense. Each area required deep expertise. Each pillar represents a skill, expertise. The taller the pillar, as we see on the screen, the deeper the expertise. Now, teams would collaborate, bringing these specialized skills together to create a well-rounded solution. But this was the gold standard for many large and mature design organizations where you had tens, even hundreds of design specialists. You see, it was safe, it was structured, and it worked. But the landscape is changing, and the catalyst is something that we can no longer ignore. AI is this dynamic. Now, AI tools and capabilities are starting to fill the skill gaps, handling the more specialized and tactical tasks that once required years of experience. Now, this has created huge levels of upheaval and perhaps uproar amongst the design community, especially some design professionals who may perhaps have been in the industry for many years. For example, a visual designer can now leverage AI to generate a dozen variations of button copy in seconds, a task that may have previously required a dedicated content strategist or two designers to come together and to collaborate on that, whether that would be the UI designer, the UX designer, and the content strategist. So two, maybe three people in total. An interaction designer can use AI to generate multiple layer options for a standard checkout flow to get a testable prototype faster than what they could if it was done manually. Now, some seasoned professionals and designers I mentioned would argue that AI in its current generative state isn't creating anything new because it's generative, so essentially it could be argued as useless. However, let's just play devil's advocate for a moment. It could be argued that innovation of new elements in design, true innovation, or what we could call leaps forward in design, such as the introduction of the hamburger icon, the list icon for mobile navigation. These things are just few and far between, these leaps forward. But isn't this what humans by and large have done anyway? Used existing ideas to inspire them to create variations of another? Again, few and far between leaps forward. It doesn't mean specialists are useless. It means that deep expertise in only the tactical execution of these tasks is becoming a commodity. The real value is shifting from doing the task to directing the task and making the strategic decisions around the task. So this is where the generalist makes a powerful comeback. This is why we talk about the return of the generalist. So what is this generalist? Well, it's not the jack of all trades, master of none. That kind of phrase is gone a long time ago, especially with the change of times. The new generalist is an orchestrator. They're a strategic problem solver. This is who they're expected to be at the very least. Someone who understands enough about multiple disciplines to connect the dots and guide a project from start to finish. So from conception all the way through to delivery. Think of a generalist as a Swiss Army knife. Yes, one of these. Now they have a primary tool, a strong tool, such as the knife itself, right? They have a core speciality. In this case, the Swiss Army knife has the tool of the knife itself. Very strong, very required. But then it has other tools, such as a can opener, bottle opener. Here you've got a corkscrew and other tools as well. So essentially, using that same illustration, the designer can have one strong tool, their core speciality, but they also have a versatile set of other tools for research, for content, for strategy. Now this is what makes them incredibly adaptable. Now, especially in the emerging design teams or startups where you do need to actually wear many hats. You can't just be a specialist in one. You can't be an I-shaped designer, and we'll show you what that looks like in a moment. Now, they can see the bigger picture because they understand how all the pieces simply fit together. Simply put, a UX generalist would have broad knowledge of different UX disciplines, methods and activities that are connected to those disciplines, and then they'll be able to connect the dots on a larger scale, orchestrating solutions, focusing on the strategic aspect of how to get things done. This opens the door to, of course, the bigger picture. UX generalists are also in a unique position. You see, by using tools such as AI, that can effectively boost each of their vertical tier skills or specialties that you may have in your UX arsenal. This brings us to another existing model, the modern UX professional, that is the T-shaped designer. In contrast, a specialist is I-shaped, all depth but little breadth. Now there's nothing wrong with that because they're a specialist. Now a classic generalist might be quite flatlined or quite equal across the various different skills. So basically all breadth and not as much depth as the others. Now, the T-shaped professional has the best of both worlds. Now they have deep expertise in one or two areas, normally just one area, which makes them a very valuable contributor. But then they also have a broad understanding of the other pillars, the other related fields within design or UX. Now the T-shaped designer is in a great position currently to capitalize on the changing landscape. But let me explain. Simply put, this breadth allows them to collaborate effectively, ask smarter questions, and orchestrate solutions using a diverse set of tools, including AI. Now, they're not just executing a task, they're also solving a problem, a people and business problem. But how can you and I adapt, right? So what does this mean for you? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for designers that already exist today? How can you prepare for this transition? Well, here's a few things that you can start doing right now. So some actionable things. 1. Develop a learning mindset. Now, instead of only investing time in deepening your one expertise, start equally prioritizing expanding your understanding across other UX disciplines. Now, if you're on a broad team, you've got a distinct advantage. You've got an opportunity, you could say, because now you can start to learn from your other colleagues. So perhaps ask the researcher about their methods or the information architect about their approach. Sit with the content strategist. Be curious. Be present. Now, another great way to do this is to take initiative in understanding the full stack of delivery. Now, this means not simply just handing off your UX or design work and moving on to the next UX or design project or thing. No. It really means understanding how different departments work with what you've just provided, your assets, your deliverables, how business ideas conceptualize as well, where the organization need comes from and how and who delivers the solution technically and so on. How does what you do fit within the bigger picture? 2. Prioritize transferable skills. Now focus on the things AI cannot replicate. Now this includes critical thinking, facilitation, navigation, ambiguity, strategic decision making, basically soft skills. Now storytelling is one such soft skill. Now this is truly valuable. Now a link in that can be shown in the video right up here. But truth be told, all these skills are valuable regardless of how tools and technology evolves. And 3, explore adjacent fields. Now I touched on this slightly in our first point, but let's dive a bit deeper into it. As the boundaries blur, understanding areas like systems thinking, data modeling, business strategy and product management, this will be a huge advantage for you. Now this will broaden your perspective, but it will not only help you to collaborate better, but it will also help you to prepare for emerging roles that combine multiple disciplines. Now if you're a leader, a manager, or aspiring to be one, you have a crucial role to play in this new landscape. Because remember, as a leader, you are hopefully trying to put your team in positions to be successful, enable them, tool them up where possible as well. You need to create an environment where both specialists and generalists can do their best work, especially in this changing landscape. Now for your specialist, protect their time. Give them the complex, thorny problems that require their deep expertise. Don't bog them down with generalist tasks that could perhaps pull them away from their focus. Provide them with budgets and opportunities for deep specialized training to stay in the cutting edge of their field. And if they personally want to be able to branch out, give them the opportunity to work side by side, shadow or pair design with other designers as well. For your generalist or your T-shaped professionals, empower them to be orchestrators. Play to their strengths by giving them cross-functional projects where they can connect different parts of the process. Encourage their learning. Support them in taking courses or attending workshops in adjacent fields. Foster mentorship, pairing them with specialists so they can learn from each other. Essentially, what I'm trying to say here is that you need to play to their strengths. Understand the strengths of your team and the weaknesses. But what if you don't know what the current strengths or weaknesses are of your team? Well, why not conduct a skills mapping exercise as a group or smaller groups if your team is too big? Perhaps leverage your team's developing leaders. If you have a large team, split them up into pods or a similar setup. NNG have a free template that you can use to do this. And I can tell you, it's a valuable exercise. You won't regret it. So take advantage of the skills mapping template they have and use that to understand the makeup of your team. And by understanding the unique strengths of each role, you build a resilient, adaptable, and highly effective design team. This shift doesn't mean that specialists will simply just disappear like Kaiser Soze. No, there'll always be a need for deep expertise. But for many of us, embracing the role of the generalist, or the relevancy of it at the very least, being an orchestrator will become increasingly valuable. The goal isn't to become that mythical unicorn who can do everything perfectly. You certainly won't be able to hire a character from a cartoon either. But jokes aside, what is the goal? The goal isn't to be a star on My Little Pony. The goal is to be adaptable, to understand the bigger picture, and to use all the tools at your disposal, including AI, to solve real problems for people and businesses. Now, the future of UX doesn't belong to the person who is best at using a single tool. Because of the changing landscape, we're seeing that it now starts to belong to the person who can orchestrate the entire solution. Thanks for watching. I hope that you found this truly helpful. Now, if you want to dive deeper into any other subjects such as storytelling and so on, check out our videos here and here, and consider subscribing to our channel for more insights into the future of UX, personal growth, and more. Stay present, stay curious. See you next time.